John, you want to start us off?
Yeah, of course, it started us off. Um, I'm gonna start us off with the easy news headline, the easy news story. On the 4th of July, while we were out celebrating our independence, Kendrick drove home the point that they are not like us over in Canada, and dropped a "Not Like Us" music video, featuring essentially everybody in LA. If you look closely, I'm in there too. Just, just really, really driving home how badly this beef went for Drake. So many, tiny messages, so many things about that video that make it dope. Um, we're not gonna sit here and dissect the entire video, but I will at least highlight my favorite part, which is at the end of the video when we have the owl in the cage. I think that was just like that was amazing. It was such a good shot at Drake. It was such a good point to make that the owls got to be locked up. It was wonderful. I give that a 10 out of 10 moment. I think it's a really solid video, and I think it just goes to really reinforce Drake lost his beef 100%, 100%. If Drake's gonna do something, if Drake wanted to make some kind of response, the clock has been ticking. I don't think it's gonna happen. Um, and yeah, that's kind of the highlight of this week was watching that video come out, and I think just the video having the audio of people singing along to the song, they really played it up. So it was overall just a really solid video, and it hit on all the points that he needed to hit on in this video.
What'd you think of the snippet when the song first came on?
Oh man, I was trying to figure out, is that going to be the next album? Is this going to be the next diss track? My first thought was, this is obviously a Drake diss. I don't get it yet, but this is obviously a very layered. That intro is obviously like a Drake diss somewhere in there. Um, I'm excited to see if we get that track fully released.
According to rumors on the internet, I think the release date is 8/8/24. I think it's on his jacket.
Oh,
It has a
I
date
saw
on his
that.
jacket, and people are speculating that that might be the release date for the album. It's actually a Thursday, so it would fall into release date. So there you go. For all you people waiting for Kendrick to drop, set your timers. There's your tentative
That's
date.
actually especially dope because it's 8 meaning a Thursday would mean that he's specifically referencing that albums come out at 9 o'clock on Pacific time. Because if Eastern time it was at midnight, so that's 8 9. So it's specifically Pacific time is 9 o'clock p.m. We would get a Kendrick Lamar album or something. So I think that's pretty dope.
And then it's also, how he likes playing with the dates and the times. Kobe 8/24.
Oh
So
yeah.
I could see that as well. So I'm like, wow, I mean, the people have been commenting all along, and I think this video just really ties it all together. How meticulous Kendrick played out this entire battle from beginning to the end. You know what I mean? He was just so meticulous and even diabolical at some points. Like the owl in the cage is menacing. You know what I mean? So hats off to Kendrick for such a well played chess game in rap warfare. So
Not to rehash this beef, but I'll leave it on one final thought I think about whenever the beef comes up. How was Drake so underprepared? Like, what did he think was? I always come back to this whenever the beef comes up. What was he expecting, man? Did he think he was just gonna stroll in, sing some tunes, la di da di da, Kendrick sucks, and then be done? Like, what was he? Like, he didn't have any plan. There was no like, yo, if he does this, I'm gonna do this. I got this lined up. Like, he was underprepared. Like, he just woke up and was in a beef. Like, he asked for this, but
I was, he really thought Kendrick was not like that, which is hilarious.
I know.
from the outside looking in, I'm just gonna be devil's advocate. I didn't see that coming from Kendrick either, though. I mean, I knew like Kendrick. I felt Kendrick was a better lyricist. I didn't put it like this. I didn't think Kendrick would lose the battle. I just think Kendrick would take it to this level. When he says that line like, "Hey, don't keep our families out of this," and you don't want to take it this far or whatever. And when he actually took it, I'm like, damn, he's a man of his word. He took it
Yeah,
there. You know what I
he
mean?
took it
So
there.
he took it there. He asked for it.
Yeah, he really did. Is there anything feasibly Drake could do to respond in a way where we wouldn't all be like, okay, buddy? Because, like, in my mind, I feel like he's just got done. Like, yeah, what do you think?
I think as much as this beef could be over, there's been longer windows between response times in rap history between a diss track and a response. So
Absolutely.
maybe this is maybe what we're seeing right now is Drake really just taking his time to calculate his next, you know, like maybe in Drake's mind he lost the battle, but he's not going to lose the war, you know, that kind of thing. So he's like, all right, let me just fall back. You know, obviously I wasn't as prepared as I should have been. Let me fall back, get my ducks in a row, and then I'm gonna come back. That could be Drake's mindset, and I wouldn't put it past him because right now he's looking like a big loser. So I mean, I wouldn't put it past him trying to do something real quick.
Get his Duckworth in a row.
Get his what?
Get his Duckworth in a row.
Get his Duckworth in a row. Okay.
Nice word. Nice play on words there, buddy. All right, next. Anyway, moving along. We can talk about Kendrick and Drake for another hour, but
And
there's probably like
we have various points on this show because it's a topic rife with content to talk about. But Father, what is your news of the week?
So, you know, while all of us are out celebrating the 4th of July and spending time with family, it seems that Cardi B was sued on July 3rd, or papers were filed in court on July 3rd. And she's being sued by a gentleman or a group by the name of Sten Jodity. And I guess they sampled a song called Greasy Fry Bread, and it was used in a TV show called Reservation Dogs. It was used in there a couple of times, and so I went back and listened to the track, and there's a very close similarity, but I don't think it's a complete sample of it. I can tell that I can see why that they filed this, but I think it's still a little bit away from being copyright infringement. But that just helped me reminded me of sampling and how it's been such influence in hip hop and music. And so just this year, I was looking back at the Tre Fuego. He was sued by an album, a Japanese album that came out in 1986. It was instrumental, and he was sued by Sony, and he ended up having to pay $800,000. And we're talking about, you know, I don't even know if you've ever heard of Tre Fuego or whatever, you know. So he's not like someone that's on the Hot Singles 100 or on the radio or whatever. He got notoriety, just you know, just based off of his talents in the music industry. But to say that he has to pay $800,000 for a sample that he used, a Japanese sample, an abstract sample from an album that was released in 1986, I think is just like you have to be very careful what you're sampling and making sure you follow all the rules and guidelines.
Yeah, I think like all the cultures, especially in Japan, are pretty have much stricter like use guidelines around like sampling and remixing and fan work of like any kind. So that's very especially you have to be careful. Uh, I I have not heard this Cardi B song, but I have a lot of friends that really do love this show, Reservation Dogs. So I'm just surprised to hear it brought up again in this context.
You know, I'm glad you said that because the Cardi B song was called Enough. It was definitely on the radio. It was her second single this year, so forgot to mention that Cardi B's single was called Enough, and the other song was called Greasy Fry Bread. So I'm sure you can check that out. It'll probably be linked to our Spotify playlist, so you can compare the two.
I didn't even realize Cardi B dropped a single this year.
Yeah, yeah, enough.
Cardi B's been doing stuff this year. Oh no, I'm thinking of
Don't get them mixed up. Don't get them mixed
super
up.
confusing Cardi B and Doja Cat. I'm realizing.
You're confused. Ice-T and Ice Cube, Cardi B and Doja Cat. We're gonna have to give you like pictures of people so you know.
Yeah, pictures will be very helpful on this podcast. I agree. That's really gonna make the difference. All right.
Well, you know we have a visual component now on YouTube, right?
Where? How can they find it?
Oh, see, all you gotta do is go to the Crosshair LA YouTube page. You know, look at my hat. And then, you know, well, I guess you can't look at my hat if you're on the podcast version. But if you go to the Crosshair LA YouTube page, you'll be able to look at my hat. You'll see that we have a visual component going along with this now.
Wow. And is that snazzy jingle that's gonna play right here? The direction, the YouTube page. How about
What's
that?
snazzy? Do we have a snazzy jingle? Making?
We'll put it in the edit. But don't worry, let's put it in the edit. And speaking of snazzy jingles and songs, my news piece of the week is entirely related to the release of a new album that I don't think we're covering on the show. Make it cover in a side B. The most recent chapter in the retelling, the musical retelling of the Odyssey, released.
Odyssey.
Yeah, so back in 2021, this creator, Jorge, I forgot his last name, but basically he announced that he was going
Dang.
to retell the entirety of the Odyssey through basically musical like short albums, and use those albums to tell a story from beginning to end. And the Odyssey, if you don't know, it's an old Greek tale about this guy Odysseus who tries to get home after a war and takes a trip that should have been like a week long, month long tops, takes 13 years long to actually get home. And it's a very tragic and interesting tale. And it's where actually the word Odyssey comes from, the story of Odysseus. That's a whole, it's a very like well well trodden tale at this point. And this weekend, Jorge released the most recent addition to that story with the Thunderbringer saga, which is they're only 5 songs long. That's all the albums are very short. Like I think the shortest one is 3 songs. But I think the 5 songs in this most recent edition are some of the best musical storytelling I've heard this year, maybe in a long while. Because without spoiling what happens in this most recent chapter, it deals with a lot of the very human and real repercussions of mercy versus ruthlessness, like looking out for yourself, pushing people down to get your way, and how that can in reality be a boon to you, but also like turn you away from what's around you, which is also all very like high noble ideas, but the music makes it feel very visceral and real when the consequences of those actions that come into play. And it just sounds great. Like all the songs from this like saga sound great, but these 5 songs in particular sound particularly great. And yeah, I just recommend anyone who likes musicals or Greek mythology or anything of that nature to go check it out.
How many short albums are we into this?
I believe we are 5 into this, so 5 albums, each about 3 to 5 songs long.
I've always wanted to read the Odyssey. I've always wanted to know the story of the Odyssey. And I'm not a reader, so maybe this is how I get my picks of the Odyssey. And I just figured I'd watch One Piece and figure it out. But that's that could do that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good way to experience the Odyssey because unlike One Piece, Odysseus is a pretty, I don't want to call him incompetent, but he's supremely unlucky. There's a reason his journey takes 13 years to get home. It's really a behold to, in this case, listen to how things could go on worse and worse for him.
Maybe we'll have to take a listen to that on B-sides. I love adventures and stories, just not musicals. Maybe we can reconcile that.
This one might reconcile it, honestly. This one might do this instead of In the Heights. Like, well, because it's more like recent, right?
Yeah, of course.
As well, it does something I would like can read that retelling, which is like it retells the story, but like changes like certain small parts of it to fit a certain theme or like a modern sensibility, where the original version from like 200 BC wouldn't have thought to do. So, just overall, a really solid listen all the way through.
200 BC, is that accurate? Sorry.
I just said
that up.
No, it's
okay. I just want to make it. I was like, it's old, but I don't know if it's that old.
Ancient Greece is pretty old, so it might actually be that old. Here, let me see.
I gotta fact check this. I'm so curious.
You fact check it.
I'm so curious. And see, 625 to 675 BCE.
Okay.
So older, right. or more recent. I don't know how BC works, but older, I think, than what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, ancient Greece. Yeah, this is like one of the oldest stories like to exist. So
crazy.
It's yeah. I think
they were telling stories in 600 BCE.
They were telling stories since like 500 million BCE. What do you mean?
I need a history class. Yeah, I have to get a history class. Like, when did we start writing? When did we start telling stories and writing them down? Because that doesn't add up to me.
Okay, those are actually two different answers. Because even this story wasn't written down; it was all just like Well, actually, sorry, it was written down later, but for a long time it was just told through oral tradition, right? It was through like them doing like the amphitheater.
People told a story. A 13-year-long story over the amphitheater. I mean, obviously it doesn't take 13 years to tell a story, but like, if it spans over 13 years, we got a lot of. So year 1, he went from here to here to here. Then year 2, it must have been like a 3-nighter event. Come back all 3 nights, get the full show.
I think I could imagine a situation where if you're telling the story, you're like, all right, we gotta keep him hooked. The story would end here, but like I gotta keep him going. So you know what? They don't get home actually. A storm
goes away. A multi-night thing.
That was YouTube back in the BC. That's what it was. Like,
You see,
like ring the bell, click and subscribe or something.
It kind of was. I mean, yeah.
it probably was. Yeah, it was probably honestly going to see that written story in the auditorium or whatever was probably super fun too. They probably had food and drinks and fires going. Like it was probably crazy.
Yeah. Not only was it super fun, I imagine there weren't many other fun things to do besides
That's that weren't violent and dangerous.
Yeah. But yeah, you hear some of the myths of the Trojan horse, right? Of like,
Yes.
Odysseus is the person who came up with the idea of the Trojan horse, and then did it. And this takes place.
So that's just from that story's from Odysseus or the Odyssey.
I think it takes place right before, but like, yeah, it's the same character, it's the same time, and it's him trying to get home from that war, and like he won with the Trojan horse, and it's more or less.
That's a crazy story. Yeah, I'm gonna go read the Odyssey.
I'll send you the album later.
Vital thoughts. There's no vital thoughts jingle, man.
Oh man. All right.